And we are live.
Are we? Oh my God, we're live.
We're live.
We're live.
What?
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 Yeah. So already it's going to be a rough summer, Nita.
You hot?
It's oh my God, it's already 88 degrees in
All
the
I'm saying
office.
is it looks pretty hot in New York today.
Um,
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It is April 14th,
right.
2023. And this is, oh shit. And hold on.
Oh,
The hell am I doing? I'm echoing because I have the wrong tab open on the
oh
other screen.
no. Oh no. Because we're
And I can't
professionals
find
here.
it. No, we're not
Well, you only
professional.
have 37 tabs
Well,
open.
there we go.
Oh, there.
All right. All right.
All right.
Shut up, Nita.
All right.
All right. You want to do this?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, let's go. And good morning, Daphne.
Good morning, Nita. Yeah, it's like, so who's joining us in the chat today?
A lot of people.
A lot of
Frank,
people.
we got JR Sketcher,
Hello,
Allison
hello.
McClone, freaking Chad Perkins,
and Chad.
Vicinio. Good morning, Bess.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
and
coming
yes,
in.
I see you, the 15 people next to the giant eyeball on my screen watching us from regions beyond. If you are watching us from Facebook, if you are watching us from Twitter, come on over to YouTube. Join the sexy people in the chat. You know, it's a lot easier for us to have a conversation here, especially today. You want to be part of this conversation. Facebook is always acting up on us, and Twitter doesn't even allow us to see your comments. So come on over to YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever we go live on any of our channels, really. But you know what? We might as well just get this ball rolling before Efrain hits the bell, telling me it's time to introduce myself. So hello, everyone. My name is Daphne Lage, and I'm a cartoonist, illustrator, and comic book artist from New York. I've been self-publishing comics since 1992, and you know what that means?
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
And I am known for the furry fantasy adventure Tall Tales, coming back to Kickstarter in and actually a lot sooner than I'm thinking at the rate I'm going. I'm pretty much almost halfway done through coloring. Coloring the first Tall Tales one shot that I have ever done in my entire career. So yes, if you ever wanted to see Tall Tales in full color. This is your chance. This is the book to do it on. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. It's Tall Tales to One Shot, or so I thought. It's a prequel to the Thief's Quest story arc. But right now, I am known also for my medieval fantasy soap opera drama, Eagle Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, on Kickstarter right now. And I want to thank the 122 backers who have pledged to do the campaign so far. Thank you so much. We have exactly 7 days to go. We're going to do a closeout party next Friday for the campaign. We are so close to reaching 4K. Thank you so much to everybody who's pledged. I can't wait to get this issue out to you guys. Like I said, this is the top of the roller coaster. We're beginning to go right over that hill. So this is where the story really starts picking up, and I really can't wait to get these books to you. In the meantime, you can read both my comics online at Tall Tales, TAILS online.com, and eagleworks.com, EGOWORKS. And you can check out all my videos on how I make my comics here on YouTube at my channel at Daphne Lage, Lage Art, which also simulcasts through the Indie Comics Network. And to tell you more about it, here's Nita.
I'm Nita. I run the Indie Comics Network. It's not that big of a deal, but we do have a really big deal waiting in the background.
That's true. I mean, it's like, do we have any housekeeping?
No, let's skip it because we've only got the man of the hour for like a half hour. So let's jump in.
Right. Yeah. So let's do that.
And bring in our special guest.
Yes, exactly. So you know what? Just to preface everything, me and JD have had this conversation for the longest time, and he's always asked, why weren't any publishers doing publications like Shonen Jump in the United States? You know, it's like, have collecting all of these different comics in one massive collection and then releasing certain ones as tankobons. Well, we have the guy coming on just now here. So yes, we're going to run a bump and we're going to bring him in. So yeah, so hit it, Nita.
All right, Get in the Tub, #1 by Mitch Rogers. Now what do? I need an artist, an editor. There's so much to do. If only there was some kind of thing or show or something that could break down from start to finish how to make a comic. I could read a book on that, but I just realized I can't read. Oh my god, who are you?
Hi, I'm a hammer with googly eyes and I'm here to tell you about Build a Comics Workshop, a show featuring artist C. Michael Lanning and writer Chad Perkins building a comic from start to finish. Join in on the discussions and learn some tips and tricks on how to make comics. It's sure to be exciting, trust me, I'm a talking hammer. Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Indie Comics Network.
I can't.
Oh my
I
God.
can't believe we allowed that dude on our network.
Hello, Frederick.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome. Thank you so much for coming onto the show today. Thank you. I know you probably don't need an introduction, but you know what? Let's tell everybody who you are.
Well, first of all, that's probably you guys have one of the best shows I think I've seen on YouTube. That's all the video interludes and stuff is really fun. It's really cool. So, no, it's really cool. And thank you for having me on the show. So my name is Frederick L. Jones, and the founder and publisher of Saturday AM. We're the world's most diverse manga brand, and pretty much what we do is we make manga style content. But we do it with people from around the world. So when we think of manga, traditionally we think of Japan because that's where it debuted. But what people don't realize is that manga has been around for so long that it's actually permeated many cultures outside of Japan. So obviously, Korea and China and Indonesia and Thailand and Philippines have all been influenced by manga for a very long time. But in terms of the West in Africa and other places in Latin America, it really hasn't been a thing. And part of that is because culturally we really haven't had anything to connect us to manga. And so we decided to create a company that really highlighted and celebrated that from people wherever they're from, whether they're from, Ireland or if they're from, Romania, Rwanda, New Zealand. We want everyone to feel like they can create content in that style. And just one last thing I'll say is that, is that one of the reasons why, it's so of its time is because the reality, and you guys obviously, looking at the comic industry all the time, manga has been the dominant force in entertainment in terms of graphic entertainment for nearly a decade. It's been for some time, but in terms of just sheer sales for over a decade here in the West. And so when you look at that, that's when you have to start thinking to yourself, wait a minute, the average kid, therefore, when they think comics, they think of manga. They think of Iron Man as like a character in a movie, but they think of manga as comics. It's the comics that they read. And so when you have an increasing number of people like that, then the idea that they're learning about manga the way I did when I was a kid and trying to emulate it, that's not the case. They are actually natively creating it the same way the Koreans are, the same way the Chinese are. And so as a result of that, it's just a new era. And we really tried to highlight that.
I mean, what do you think is the appeal of anime and manga, that it does have this global cultural influence?
Yeah. I think it's a couple of things. I think, first of all, I think that, listen, I think that if you look at, first of all, as you can tell, I'm African American, and I use this reference all the time about hip hop. When I was younger, I'm 49, and so when I was younger and I was growing up, hip hop was traditionally a black or a urban black thing. So if you were like black and in the country, like hip hop was not a thing you could do, or at least you weren't taken seriously. And obviously, I remember when groups like, the Beastie Boys first came out. I remember they were kind of considered like a novelty. They're like, people were like, oh, they're fun, but they're not real hip hop. And obviously that started to change. And obviously Eminem came and just destroyed it. And now you've got people like Drake, who's not even American, and he's like one of the biggest artists out there right now. So, I think of it kind of like that, in the sense that for young people, when they discover manga, it's like the shock to the system.
Yeah.
It's just so different from everything that we have. The same way that young kids back in the 80s and 90s were listening to hip hop, and they were like, man, this is so different. Like, this is not like my parents' music. This is so different. It's kind of naughty even to listen to it. Manga is kind of like that, right? You got sexual stuff that happens in manga sometimes out of nowhere. You've got a lot of violence that's really creative and interesting, and you have these massively cool character designs. And so I think a lot of that really kind of is intertwined with today, where young people, first of all, it's readily available. So they can find it in bookstores, they can go online and find it. A lot of YouTube videos cover it. And then, of course, every major streaming service, Netflix and Paramount Plus, they all have some type of anime that you can watch. And so as a result of that, I think it's just really kind of a question of access, and still the idea that, well, this is not like what my parents consider like, safe stuff.
Right.
And so I'm gonna really embrace this. And they've embraced it, and it's just become this really, I would say, of the moment type of thing. It's of the moment, right? It fits young people today.
Yeah.
Whereas Batman and Spider-Man and stuff, while they're still cool, obviously, they're more in the past. And by the way, just to add one quick note to that, it's not just manga. I mean, if you look at comics, manga is clearly the dominant factor, but right next to it is young adult graphic novels.
Yeah.
And what makes young adult graphic novels so special is that it's doing the exact same thing, and it's doing a lot of representation. So if you're a young female, remember back in the early 2000s, if you were, the most young adult books, most young adult novels were, I'm the magical boy,
right? Yeah,
to save the world. And now it could be a girl, it could be someone who's disabled, it could be someone who is different orientation or gender. Right. I mean, or going through transition. It could be people with different ethnicities, different nationalities, and that's really where young adult graphic novels have exploded through people like Raina Telgemeier and obviously Daphne at a younger age. So I just think that manga and young adult graphic novels, they just reflect today, and a lot of comic books still kind of in the past when it comes to morality and type of stories you can tell and so on. That's just my view.
Right. No, I mean, it's kind of funny that you said a decade ago, because the funny thing is that me and several, even JD and several friends of ours, more than a decade ago, we were actually part of the first group to do original stories based on manga IPs back I think like in the very early 2000s.
Oh yeah.
And of course, speaking of, we did Tenchi Muyo and La Blue Girl. Unfortunately, I didn't have.
Baby Nita.
Yeah, I know. It's like, unfortunately, I don't have a copy of Demon Beast Invasion, but if anybody wants to know about what we did on Demon Beast Invasion, go to the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund site, and we were kind of tangentially part of the lawsuit.
Wow.
Texas versus Castillo. So yeah, we saw kind of like the anime fandom, like booming.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. I remember the what was the first one you had? What was it?
It was Tenchi. Okay, so we did
Tenchi Muyo, yeah.
We did Tenchi Muyo, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was the first original. So it's based on an actual IP, but it was the first original story that we did with Pioneer.
So you did this in conjunction with them?
Yes, this is an official release that we did with Pioneer. Yeah, so
I was gonna ask you, was it like a doujinshi or like
no, it's the real thing. It's the real thing. Yeah,
cool.
we had So we kind of saw the beginnings of that whole anime manga phenomenon, like birthing, at the time. Now the thing is, though, you didn't start off in comics. You actually started in video games at the corporate level. So, I mean, what led you from one place to another?
Well, I mean, I started as a fan of manga, right? Like I discovered manga and anime in the 70s and 80s, and I've told the story many times, but like my father had his own business, and it was involved with the school. Sit down, Ed. Sorry, my dog's gonna be all over the place.
Oh, that's okay. I have a parrot over here that's already making commentary. So.
My dog was pouring out raining this morning, so she's like, she can go outside. But I took her outside. There's food downstairs. I throw her treats up, but she's going downstairs.
Right, there you go.
So I discovered it early on, and for most of us who discovered manga back then, it was a very niche sort of geeky thing, right? Because you had to really be into it to discover it.
Yeah. And
you had to really, that was back when, remember those conventions where people would trade tapes.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it was such like that 8th generation VHS of Akira.
yes, exactly. So that was something that we did a lot. And so I just had a fascination. I went to Japan when I was exchange student in Japan.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, through Duke University, and so I just, I've been into it for some time now. When I got into the video game industry after college, that was obviously very exciting, and I've been in, tangentially into video games. I had a Nintendo when I was younger, and to be fair, for many of us, again, who were fans of what we realized to be Japanese manga and anime, the video game industry at a certain period was like the only place you could really go explore your fandom. It's not like manga was readily sold here in the 80s and 90s.
That's
game were, right? So you could play Mega Man, you could play Final Fantasy, and you could get like some of this manga stuff and experience it. And so the video game was kind of a natural transition for me. And it was at a time we were part of the team that launched some of the PlayStation aspects into North America. I worked on marketing like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon, the controllers and just everything. And so that was my career. And then as that started to come to an end, I was at Blockbuster Corp. I was in the video game side of things for a while with publishers like Gathering Developers. Worked on games like Max Payne and Kiss Psycho Circus and all these things. And then when I transitioned to Blockbuster, I was a suit, so I was in charge of a lot of the business of getting video games and accessories and magazines and trading cards like Yu-Gi-Oh into Blockbuster stores across the country. But then when that came to, I was working at a small company, and that company eventually went somewhere, ended up getting bought by another company, and I just ended up looking at the thing I love, which was manga and comics and anime, and wanted to play a role in that. And so, like I said, I was looking at everything that was happening. I was looking at everything that was happening in the space, and what was shocking to me, because I was traveling quite a bit around the world when I was in the video game industry, and I was just surprised as I was going to different countries, and I would see young people who could draw manga, and it was so like it looked so like legitimate.
Yeah.
And you just at that point you're like, wait a minute, like, well, why is this happening? And instead it starts to dawn on me that so all this time that I was, going to college and working professionally in the video game industry, the world was moving on. And the thing that was moving on was that people had grown up with Pokemon, Dragon Ball was readily available to people in the West, and they started drawing like it. They got really good at it. It wasn't like they were trying to hunt to figure out how to do it. They weren't just doing the spiky hair and big eyes. They were like really studying like the style and the language and the layouts. So yeah, I mean, eventually, I decided to start the company towards the end of the aughts, because I just, I'd been in the video game industry at that point for over a decade. I'd seen so much stuff, and then I'd seen what was happening, and I just thought, man, this is the line I've used in the past is that creating, taking this industry and applying diversity to it is the ethical thing to do, it's the moral thing to do, and it's financially a reward. So it just made sense to do it across the board, and that's what we decided to do.
Right. I mean, I watched your presentation at the Diamond Distribution Summit, and you spoke about the mainstream comics that you grew up with and whatnot. Now the thing is, though, did you have like a more mainstream comics interest, and then it led into manga? And
Sure.
What was the book, and like, what was the book that made you go, this is where I want to be, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to head into?
Well, listen, I always when I was at Carolina, UNC Chapel Hill, I had thought that I was going to get into comic books. I knew Mike Wieringo when I was younger. He was a good friend of mine. The famed artist who has the Ringo Awards now. He passed away tragically years ago. I was a massive fan of Dwayne McDuffie and the stuff he was doing with the Bruce Timm verse back in the back in the mid '90s to early 2000s. So I had always thought that I'd have a career in comic books. That was something I had been long invested in, excited about. But so there's no manga that converted me. I think that at the end of the day, though, I saw where things were headed, and likewise, I had been a fan of it, way before. But I mean, for me, in the way that we handle manga, and the way that I try to talk to a lot of our artists about handling manga, is that I think one of the things that makes Saturday M unique is that I am a student of all of it. Whether it's Mobius from France, whether it's of course Brian Boland and Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, all great creators out of the UK. Obviously American titles, whether it's indie stuff like Dave Sim and so many great artists from the indie side of things, Jim Starlin and Paul Gillisey and those guys. Or you get to Japan and manga. I look at all of it, and it all goes into a repository of like what makes great visual storytelling.
Yeah.
And I challenge our people to do that at Saturday AM. One thing I don't do, and one thing I think again makes us unique, is that I absolutely hate for our folks who, frankly, I don't think any of our people are Japanese. We have people who live in Japan. We have people who can speak Japanese, but none of them are actually Japanese. Don't be Japanese. Like if you're not Japanese, then don't try to emulate or appropriate their culture.
Yeah.
Especially if all you're getting it from is a cartoon. I mean, I can't.
Right. The road to stereotypes. That's where the road to 100%. Stereotypes start. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. And so that's something I've been adamant about since we started the company. And so, but I tell folks all the time, like when they say to me, I'm reading this manga, I'm reading that manga. I'm like, well, have you read this comic? Have you read Saga? Have you read, have you read like, Chew? Have you read like some of the great titles that are out there? Because let's not, I can't know if I can curse on here because I curse.
Yes,
a
you
lot.
can. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, like, well,
that's my language, man.
Okay, I saw Nita in the background, like she lit up. No, I mean, I'm like, let's not shit.
I can relax now. Shit.
Yeah. Let's not shit on American comics. American comics,
right?
Yeah. Man. And so I'm like, let's not bullshit around with the great creators and the great things. I mean, I love manga, and we make diverse manga. But let's be clear, and I've said this before. And I'm sure, by the way, this pisses off a lot of folks in the manga community. But I'm pretty damn sure that a Marvel movie will gross a hell of a lot more money than any anime film.
Right. Yeah.
And so I'm like, so while hey, I have all the love in the world for Ichiro Oda and
Mm-hmm.
Masashi Kishimoto and those guys that
Right.
create incredible franchises that will go for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not trip. Dragon
Right.
Ball movie or a One Piece movie ain't gonna do a damn dent
Right.
in the amount of money that a fucking Iron Man movie will make.
Oh yeah, I mean, the Hollywood machine is very, very entrenched and pretty much knows what it's doing.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's like I really appreciate like the way that you're bringing together like both like the like kind of like the American mainstream aesthetic and the manga aesthetic, because especially recently, it's like there's just a lot of like unnecessary beef between the two camps, and there doesn't really need to be, and so part of that beef is the fact that you're in Walmart, you're in Barnes and Nobles, right? And we've seen a couple of episodes ago, there was a picture that went viral of the manga section at a Barnes and Noble versus like some little box in a corner for graphic novels, which by the way is not the case here in New York. If you go to the main Barnes and Noble at Union Square, there's probably like 5 aisles of just American graphic novels. It rivaled Forbidden Planet, which is like a couple of blocks away. So it's probably just where you're at, not necessarily how the but here's the thing though. So several publishers we have seen several publishers try to get into Walmart, and they would like practically flame out spectacularly. How does your relationship with Quarto Group fit into what you're accomplishing?
So first of all, I agree with everything you just said,
Right.
and I state that all the time that that do not base the industry off what you see by yourself. Like
Right,
and then one of the things I tell our creators and our staff members, I'm like, don't be a fan of comics, don't be a fan of manga, be a fan of the comics and manga business. Because if you're a fan of the business, then it gives you a lot more perspective, and it helps you have an actual career at this. So I couldn't agree with you more about the that viral, because I saw that.
Yeah.
And that's certainly not where I live at. That's not true for where I live at. There's an ample section. Now, to be clear, the graphic novel section is kind of like a free for all.
Right.
In a store. So meaning it includes everything. It includes young adult graphic novels. It includes comics. It includes webtoons, so it could use some tweaking for sure. Right. But manga, has really done a good job of establishing yourself and making it clear how you display it and how it works. And frankly, a lot of American comic companies have not. There was for a long time. Right. Marvel did not keep a lot of their books in stock. I mean, that was one of the things that came out with the. I'd heard this before in the industry, but with the ouster of Ike Perlmutter from Marvel, which I think was long overdue, it came out that one of the things that he was adamant about, he's trying to cost cut, trying to save money. Yeah. He just didn't believe in keeping books in stock. It was like, why would I continue to pay money to keep this book in stock? Like, why?
Yeah.
So again, I don't know per se if that was him. That's one of the comments that came out of one of the.
It wouldn't surprise me. He is a known cheapskate, and for some reason, Disney / Marvel, especially in the last couple of years, for some reason, think that cheapskates are able to run a company, and that's kind of not how it works.
Yeah. By the way, that's happening right now at Warner Brothers. So, not just Marvel. A lot of these companies are going through this sort of like we can cut our way to success. But no, I mean, so I think you're right. And I think so to back to your question, I think that in terms of us and Quarto, one of the best decisions I had made since starting the company, we got approached by a number of companies. So it wasn't just Quarto. We got approached by a lot of companies that you guys probably know and follow, some big comic companies. And we were in negotiations with them. And the thing about Quarto was that they were an established company. They were a smaller company in terms of their overall brand recognition. And therefore, I had a choice. Someone who believes in diversity, has a very diverse group, people from different countries, people who, by the way, I'm 49, the average artist is like 24. Maybe.
I know, they're so young. Babies.
I felt, they don't like it. But our kids, they don't like it when I call them kids. But the thing is that I'd rather be a big fish on a small pond
Mm-hmm.
and alleviate that pressure on our creators who are very young and this is their first bite at this,
Right.
than to be a small fish in a big pond. Small fish in a big pond, it's going to get you a lot of opopportunities, right? They're going to have a really powerful marketing arm. They're going to know all the retailers. You're going to
Can
know all
also get your ass eaten.
exactly 100%, right?
Yeah.
If you're
Not
a
in
young
a good way.
Huh.
No. if you're a young creator and you've worked really hard and you've got started to build a fan base with us, and then you're with the publisher who's like, hey, you've got to sell as good as this title we had 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
Scott Pilgrim still sells millions of copies. It's like, who is going to survive under that pressure? Like,
Right,
that's
that's
too much
true.
pressure to put on someone who's just trying to get started. They're just trying to build a fan base, and they're really talented. Like, everyone can acknowledge they're talented, but why put that pressure on somebody? And I'm not saying any publisher that we talked to would do that, but I felt that was a possibility. And the fact that it was a possibility, and I looked at Corto and thought, well, that's definitely not going to be the case here. They're going to really appreciate us. They're going to be happy that we're here, that we've selected them, and therefore we can work really hard and learn how to be a good partner. And likewise, since they were not well known in manga, they were going to have to work really hard and be a good partner to us. So it felt like a more equal relationship, and that's exactly what it's proved to be. We would not have gotten into Walmart, frankly, if it was us.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe some of the other publishers, but the fact that Corto did have a strong relationship, did have a great new take on manga through us, and did have a kind of a left door approach, we were able to get into Walmart. And I think that, and again, I credit them with that tremendously.
Right, because also it's through Quarto that the reason why your books are also available worldwide.
That's right.
As well. So it's like you didn't just like focus on the American market. It's like no, we're going global with this.
100%.
Right.
100%. Yeah.
Now,
Corto,
right.
Go ahead,
Are they a printer for you? They're a publisher?
Yeah.
What are
yeah,
they?
So it's a very unique deal, right? Because the way it's structured is that we publish our content and we own all of our content, or our creators own all the content.
Right.
So when we partnered with them, it was well understood that we would control everything that was associated to our brand. So we do all the design. So if you've got any of our books, like you can see, like all the design, like we did all of that. We chose the paper stock, we chose the dimensions, like we did everything. So we laid out and constructed the entire book. We determined what books we're going to publish. Like we do all of that, and they, as a partner, basically, yes, they print. They provide us some sensitivity editorial assistance, so that things that maybe some of our creators think is okay. Because again, we've got different wide net of people from different territories, different parts of the world. Sometimes things can be misinterpreted. So a sensitivity editor, which I'm very frustrated that they do that. And then they've got tons of people who not only print the books, but then also help us get the books into stores around the world, sell the books into stores around the world. And I could not be more appreciative of the relationship that we have, and they've been a great group of people to work with. And we have differences, of course, at times, but it's been really great. It's been really great.
Right. I mean, it just goes to show you that it's like that being in comics, whether just in general, is a collaborative effort. Rather, like you cannot just do this by yourself.
I'm so happy you say that. I say a lot of things to our folks. One of the things I say to our folks is I talk about the fact, because sometimes you hear a lot of young creators, and sometimes young creators can have a very skewed view of what creating really is like, or what a career in this is really like.
Yeah.
And I explain to them all the time that, hey, look, there'll be lots of people. Damn, I've got that filter on.
Nita, why don't you bring up the website so everyone can? There we go. So at least we have the books on the screen.
All right. Thanks, Nita. Go to the graphic novels, Nita, so you can see the graphic novels. That'll help.
Let's see.
You scroll back up to the top.
So
There's the graphic novel stuff.
Right. Oh, there we go. Graphic novel.
Yeah. So, So listen, I tell our folks all the time, look, don't get it twisted, right? You're talented. You deserve this opportunity, but don't get it twisted. You didn't get this deal. Right. Like they didn't come to us and say, I want to publish this book. They came to us and said, hey, we want Saturday AM. They actually wanted 2 books. And that was it. That's all the publishers just wanted 2 of our books. And I the Corto was able to expand into all of our books. Likewise, the stuff that we do internally, the stuff to help these books get popular. Like, again, a lot of people in our company did that. And then by the time the book leaves us, it goes to Quarto. You've got someone who's going to handle the printing, someone's going to handle logistics, someone's going to handle the shipping, someone's going to handle the distribution of stores, someone's got to handle the sales. We got people going right now from Quarto to London Book Fair. There are dozens of people, not counting the store personnel at every individual store, who's got to take the book out of a box, put it on a shelf, tell the customer about it. If you're in comic books, you are one piece of that long list of credits at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
might be the top, but there are dozens of people that you never even met who made it possible for your book to be out there. And I think that every creator needs to have a modicum of humility.
Yeah.
How important it is, and how big it is to create this stuff. And by the way, how difficult it is for it to sell, because
that's for sure.
Getting into stores is hard, but selling it and staying in stores, that's the game. That's the battle right there.
Right. Yeah. Because that's the thing. A lot of people think that, once they're in comic book stores, that's the end game. And it's like, no, honey, the challenge just begun.
That's right.
Once you're in the store. Now here's the thing. How different, like I said, I watched your thing from the Diamond Distribution. So how different is it breaking, like getting, is there a difference between getting your books in like comic book stores as opposed to getting it in like Walmart and Barnes and Nobles?
100%.
Right. There's a difference.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, big difference. I mean, the bookstores. So let's break it down like this, and I'll talk about it from this perspective, because this is what I'm focusing on this year, and this is what we're trying to grow as a company. Let's break it down this way.
Right.
If you have a book, comic book, novel, whatever, there are 5 places that you want to try to be. They're going to help you, that they can give you the best chance to actually have a career at this. You want to be in bookstores, indie or chain. You want to be in mass market stores, Target, Walmart, Tesco up in the UK, so on and so forth. You want to be in libraries. Okay?
Yeah.
You want to be in comic book stores. And then you want to be at basically any sort of convention where you can make direct sales. You obviously would have websites and so forth. So Amazon, or anything direct sell. All of those are different. Every last one of those have their own peculiar ways that you have to work. Libraries require you to invest a lot of time going to ALAs, doing library functions, working with schools, getting them to know you. The difference is that they already love books. So you haven't got to convince them of anything. They love books. All you've got to do is show why your book would speak to their students. That's it. But they already love books. It's the easiest conversation in the world to have. Comic book stores are a little more jaded, right? Because they've seen it all. They've seen it all. And they're not in the business of having a book for someone to check out. They're in the business of having a book that they're going to pay for, put on a shelf, and now they got to sell it. So retail is called gym rust, gross margin per square foot. Every single part of that store has a money-making possibility. And if you got something sitting up there and it's not selling, you're literally losing money. So, for them, they just want to understand, okay, give me the reasons why this book should sell to my customers. And that's a more nuanced conversation, because you're talking about stores where they might be really strong in Marvel and DC. Why would they carry manga? Or you might have stores that have a really strong pull list customer base, which means they're adults. So why would young people, if your book appeals to young people, why would they care? So it's a very nuanced conversation, and that one requires a lot of effort. And we're trying to invest in that now, because we're learning things about that. I'm a lifelong comic book store guy. It's important for me to be in comic book stores, but at the same time, it's going to be a massive investment of time, because we've got to nuance our conversation. So we're going to be doing a free comic book day event next month to start our process, to really start letting stores know, hey, we are committed to this. We're going to put our bodies out there wherever you need us to be to help you sell our books, because we believe that's the thing. Now, when you get past that, bookstores, comic book stores, not comic book stores, bookstores, indie bookstores, big trade stores, they're the same. Basically, they're not as specific as a comic book store, but the bottom line that they care about is returnability or some sort of discount, and knowing that there's a chance the book can sell in their stores. In other words, if the store a chain store already knows what's happening, right? Like Barnes & Noble knows that Manga is killing it.
Yeah.
Like you don't. Have to convince them killing it. They know that. So all they need to know is what makes your manga unique. Mass market stores, again, same thing, but the reality is that doesn't have an anime, doesn't have a TV show,
right?
Will carry it, right? So it's a lot harder. So the fact that we got in there, and there are a lot of companies way bigger than us, they got close to being in Walmart, is very telling because at the end of the day, that's what they look at. They look, hey, does it have a movie? Does it have an anime? Does it have a Netflix show? What's it called? Heartstopper is a good example of that.
Right.
That thing is everywhere. Because it's got that. It's a great book, and it's got that Netflix show. Conventions, Amazon will buy anything.
Well, yeah, you just have to open up an account, I guess.
Yeah. It's not hard to get in Amazon. The issue, of course, is that Amazon sells everything, so it's a needle in the haystack.
Right.
So at that point, just like if you were to have something at a comic convention, however you're going to do it, you've got to be willing. You've got to be willing to have, or you've got to be really dedicated. This is where a lot of comic creators, I think, sometimes miss the mark. Is that a lot of comic creators are very shy. You know, they're very shy, right? Social media.
It's what we have to always. It's one of the many things we have to push through.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, listen, and I'm
not introverted nerds.
Right. Yeah.
I like Nita's the firecracker. I like firecracker. But no, listen, I agree. And by the way, I'm not a big fan of social media. Like you're not going to find social media a lot, outside from the company. But the reality is that if you think you're gonna get on Amazon and sell, you better have a social media following.
It's a necessary evil.
It is because, like I said, if you're on Amazon, Amazon has everything. So it's literally a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
How would someone even know you're there if you're not telling? Amazon's not going to tell them.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
They're not going to tell them. So you've got to have a social media. So all 5 of those are so specific and so unique that you got to be dedicated to wanting to try to build it. And so I think that at the end of the day, for me, it just comes down to, something I tell our creators a lot is, look, you got to want to have a career in this space. Like creating comics, I think all of us are maybe a little older than maybe some of your fans and some of our readers. So, I say this to our folks. I'm like, look, in the 80s, if you wanted to become a comic creator, this is what you had to do. You had to come up with the concept. You had to have a buddy that could draw better than you. And draw is great. That put you in a very small pole. But if you couldn't draw, you had to get a buddy that could draw it for you. That was just good enough to convey some stuff on page. Because if you guys remember in the 80s, a lot of those comic books were not great. They weren't great. A lot of the indie comics. But you find someone. How did you pay them? If you didn't have no money, you gave them a hug or you bought them pizza.
Yeah, it was a little different back then.
You had to do something. Then you had to go through. You had to print the books, and they don't take hugs. They don't take. Pizza.
No, it was very expensive. We had to print 3,000 at a time, whether you sold them or not.
Yeah. You went to a nicer printer than I did. When I went to a printer, it was like you could get 50 copies for I think $300, $500, but it was like
right. Oh, you were able to do.
Yeah. At least in North Carolina.
Right.
Now after that, again, I lived in North Carolina. I lived in a nice area in North Carolina. We had conventions, but they weren't anything close to like a Comic Con, right? The biggest we had was Heroes Con in Charlotte.
Oh, right.
So, right, which was a huge show. But so if you were a kid, right, you had to then beg your parents, or if you were a teenager, you had to get some gas money, and you had to go to wherever the convention was. That's gas money. That's travel time. You had to pay to get into the show, and then this is prior to the internet.
Right.
You know who was going to be there, so you had to hunt and talk to everybody.
If you're lucky, you had a flyer, like a really poorly Xeroxed flyer,
or you had your comics with you, right? You had your comics with you. You had to haul those around and pass them out. You didn't want to pass them out to just anybody. So you had to try to work your way.
Right.
Through. Okay. Well, are you do comic books? Do you have to know the editor of Marvel or DC or First or Eclipse or whatever? Nowadays, you just upload it and you're done. Yeah. Right? Yeah. You just upload it and you're done. You're going to reach as many people the webtoon or whoever has. My point in saying that story is that it, nowadays, if you want to have a career in this, you really got to want to have a career in this. And the fantasy of what the career is, like you said, I got the book of stores, that's it. No, that's not it. A career is what we just talked about. All that work just to get noticed back in the 80s and 90s. Nowadays, it doesn't take much to get noticed, but if you want to sell and you want to make a living at this, you better be prepared to hustle.
Right. Yeah.
You better be prepared to continue to work on your comic. You better be prepared to do what the fans want you to do. Not listen to the fans and like
Right.
not let the fans write it, but you gotta speak to what they're interested in, and make sure you're delivering for them to where they feel engaged.
Right.
And so yeah, it's just comics is a lonely, tough business. You know, it's really, really tough, and you gotta really want it badly to succeed.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Now the thing is, though, you're not just the founder of Saturday AM, but you're also a creator. It's like you recently put out a book called Clock Striker.
Yeah.
So. It's like what made you know what it's like, so how do you juggle the two? How do you juggle being a creator and being the person responsible for running a company and managing all these other creators?
Not easy.
I could imagine. Yeah.
Not without some gray hair.
Every one of those is earned. Remember that.
Well, if that's the case, then all of this. No, I mean, it's not easy at all, and
Right.
and people. I had an interview the other day. Someone asked me like, what would I prefer to do? Like if everything was perfect, like what would I
Right.
prefer to be doing? And I said, and I told her, I said, I vacillate between the two, right? Like I could easily, like Clock Striker was incredible. I've written a few of our books, by the way. I've written a few of them. In fact, I'm writing our big crossover, which is called Saturday Wars, coming out next year, where all of our manga kind of come together, like a Crisis on Infinite Earths, and,
Right.
type of event. But no, I mean, the business side is really fun because at the end of the day, the excitement. Like if you notice in the books that I've created, in the books that I've written, my name is not first. I take great pride in the artists getting their due, right? So I don't care if anyone knows I wrote the books. I just care if those artists who work really hard get their notice. So on the business side of things, what's fun is closing a deal that can help our company grow. It's discovering, like I had a big meeting with someone the other day, which can be a really exciting project for us in the near future. And I think it'll make a lot of noise when it comes out if we become a part of it. So that's always exciting. And then likewise though, whenever we have success with like we just released a book called Gun Hill, and obviously I didn't create that or write that. And the creator of it is a young girl named Fred Torninger. She's from Denmark, and she's wonderful, like really, really wonderful. And I get the book did really well. Like the first couple of days, it popped up to #1 on our bestsellers of our brand on Amazon. And I was so happy for her. And then the day that her book came out, all our creators were like sending her all this love, like, oh, congratulations, Fred. We're so happy for you, Fred. I got my copy, Fred. And it's stuff like that, take the creation out, take the creativity out. Just knowing that there are young people being influenced by what we're creating and that there are creators being empowered by what we're doing. That makes me as a business person really excited, like really, really gratified. So it's a toss up, but Clock Striker is really special because I created that mainly because when I started, again, I'm African American, and when I created the company, the idea was to bring diversity to manga. And when I was getting a lot of pitches from people, even some of our earliest creators, it still featured, even if they weren't white, it still featured a lot of characters who looked white and looked Asian. And I kept thinking to myself, like, wait a minute, like I want to see, like we have an opportunity to do something different. Like, I don't expect the Japanese to make a series about a black character, even though I wouldn't hurt them. I don't expect it to happen. But at the same time, though, if I see an amazing black creator who's like can draw like as good as any traditional manga artist, and they're not creating a black manga character, I'm like, why? Like, what was the point of that? And whenever I ask the question, I always get this thing about, well, it would seem forced. It's like, how would that seem forced? Naruto Uzumaki, I've been to Japan.
Right.
There's no blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Japanese-named kid, natively Japanese, walking around Japan. None. I mean, I haven't been there in a while, and I promise you, it stands to change. Unless they change their name, they are not born in Japan and are ethnic Asian, and they got blue eyes and blonde hair.
Right? Yeah, that's
so like I'm like, that's force. That's the definition of force, and I love Naruto. But the idea of having a series that doesn't take place in Japan and features a black or Latino or Jewish character, like who gives a shit, So Clock Striker was created just really to kind of show that this is possible. And it's a story that, just like any great story, any great series, it could feature anybody. Like Clock Striker could have been a white boy, it could have been a white girl, could have been an Indian kid, could have been an Asian character. It didn't matter what the character was. what mattered was that the story was unique, but then adding some diversity to it that was authentic allowed the story to just have a different perspective and a different energy, and it's been nice. It's been it's been our best reviewed book, and it's been our one of our top sellers.
Right. Yeah. And also she's very cute too. Yeah.
That was important.
Yeah.
Look black, but also to look like a manga character.
Yeah.
And we didn't want her. We didn't want her. As a black character, we didn't want there to be this sense that she was angry or that she's had some tough breaks in her life. We want her to be as joyous and as fun. Right.
Yeah.
As any
that really comes out in the work. Now the thing is, speaking of, so the other day I just finished reading your annual, and it was a lot of fun. And the Animal, I think, is my favorite story. It really cracked me up. Now, so speaking of Shonen Jump that we started, or that we were talking about in the beginning, so this is, I guess, your like equivalent of it, but even Saturday AM on the app. It's all these short stories by different people, and then it's like, so what makes you decide which story makes the jump to an actual printed tankobon?
So a couple of things. So first of all, Anna Molly is one of my favorites too. The girl's name is Philippa Borman. Philippa Borman, and she is wonderful. Great personality, incredible talent. She actually is an artist, animator on the show Hell of a Boss on YouTube. So she's really wonderful, and she actually was in Saturday AM with Anna Miley about 8 years ago, and we were just like, man, she is amazing. I never lost touch with her. I was desperate to work with her again on Anna Miley, and I just kept hounding her. For years, and then finally we got her to commit to doing this, and hopefully we'll have a graphic novel with her in the future. So Saturday AM Annual. So first of all, as you said before, our app is the primary way to read our stories. They serialize in the magazines. We have 3 magazines: Saturday AM, which is Shonen, like Shonen Jump; Saturday PM, which is seinen, and that's more older content, more have more sexual situations and more violence, like that. I see Nita
more adult type,
Nita saying like
mature type,
That's in fact, the book subtitle for that is Nita's.
Right. It's subjective, Daphne.
And then we had Saturday Brunch, which was meant to be in Japan. There are 2 brands of the josei, 2 categories: josei, which is older female, and then the shoujo, which is younger female. And we decided to merge them both in Brunch and create a place where female creators could create their works without worrying about fitting into a certain shonen deal. And likewise, male creators who want to create something that felt a little different. And we have a male creator that's got a series called Henshin about a gay Sentai hero, kind of like a common writer and stuff. So it's really cool. And all 3 magazines serialize the stories, and those stories then get collected into the tankobons that you're talking about, the graphic novels. Annual is different. Annual is in Japan, for example, Weekly Shonen Jump comes out every week. And it has spinoffs. Like I said, Weekly Young Jump is seinen, and Ultra Jump is seinen, and it has some other magazines that tie into their whole brand. But they have one in particular called Jump Giga. And Jump Giga is I think it's quarterly or it's biannual. It's one or the other. It's kind of quarterly every 3 months, or it comes out twice a year. Bottom line is that it is a showcase for all the manga that creators who are new to Shueisha, the creator, the publisher of Shonen Jump. It's where they get their first break. So a lot of people think that these creators just come in and they create a manga and it gets serialized, and it either survives or it doesn't. It's not what happens. They create a short story. The short story gets aired in a publication like Giga, and readers then respond to it and say, I really like that. I like that creator. Maybe the concept is not the thing, but that creator is dope. Like, I like that creator. And then that's what gives Shueisha Editorial a chance to then evaluate that creator further and say, you know what, let's maybe give them we have a slot coming up. Let's give them a chance to see if they can create something. And that's what happens. So annual is our attempt to kind of capture something like that. It comes out once a year. It features short stories from people that we've either known, creators that we've worked with in the past, like Philippa with Miley, or new creators who just participated in our event that we have every summer called Summer of Manga. So we have a Summer of Manga event happening, for example, this summer. And in fact, it's happening right now. So that event, people can upload and present their short story pitches to, or they can pitch us on a short story. If we like it, we give them the space to create something in the magazine. Fans will read it and review it. We have a lot of companies who check it out as well. And then if that's successful, we then give them a paid contract to produce work and get published in Saturday. So it's a really great migration for creators to have a chance to kind of create something, get experience, get critiques, and then move up the ability to get recognized. And so this year, Saturday Annual will feature again a whole set of new creators. I think this year, the one will come out in October of this year. We'll feature creators from Brazil and Argentina and Zimbabwe. The book that you have, that one had creators from Greece. Area, United Kingdom. So Ghana. So it's something we're really proud of, and that book did well. We're excited about this next book that we're doing, and I'm already starting to work on the book that's coming out in 2024, which will be the 2025 edition. But the general idea is basically these are short stories that are either original or they're just short stories based on something that we had in the past. This year's version is coming out will feature short stories of our existing series. So you'll see a brand new Apple Black short story in there from a new creator. You'll see a brand new Clock Striker short story in there from a new creator. So we think this will be an interesting way to kind of, again, test the boundaries of what we can do. But as you guys know, in the world of comics, their anthologies are tough. Big markets in the American side of things. On the other hand, there's a lot of success on Kickstarter for anthologies. But they're very niche, right? They're like
It's dying. Like the anthology market we're watching it just
right. I mean, unless you're catering to a very you're a niche within a niche, very niche. Yeah.
So like Iron Circus, we'll do those sex, whatever it's gonna take a sex.
Smut Peddler. That's
Smut Peddler,
right.
Yeah,
and there's some Cthulhu anthologies that do well. There's anything based on Alice in Wonderland. Usually,
but even the Lovecraftian and Neverland and Alice in Wonderland. I mean, there are a few that are holding their own, but they're dying off too.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say to Nita, to your point, what I would say to that is that I said, I know that they've done well in Kickstarter, right? And they're very niche.
Yeah.
The flip side is that I don't think I've ever seen them in stores. I've never, at least not any major bookstores. I've never seen any in Barnes & Noble. I think I've ever seen a Smut Peddler in Barnes & Noble. So my point on that just being is that we thought it'd be interesting to try to create something that's mainstream that focuses not on niche, but focuses on diverse creators.
Right.
Giving you, and we want the book eventually. And again, I don't know if we're going to achieve that. In fact, I've got a big interview planned for this year's book that you guys will love. 2 big interviews. I just can't reveal them yet. One is with a major creator. Yeah, I know. One's with a major creator, though, that you guys, I assume you guys are big fans of. So hopefully that happens. And if it does, I will.
Oh, you're killing me, bro.
It's good. I mean, look, I was surprised.
Patience. No fine wine before it's time.
I was surprised that we were able to get her. So I am really amazed. But what I hope Annual will be is an annual collection of worldwide manga and worldwide manga fandom. So I'd love for us to have more articles in there with creators from around the world. I'd love for us to have pictorials about what it's like to be a comic creator in Turkey or in Qatar or some country. And just I want people to pick it up and be taken on a journey, right? Different countries or different creators in different countries in terms of us profiling those, and just letting everyone know that the world, the global nature of creativity is something that all of us are connected to, and all of us should feel empowered by. So I want to try to make the book into that. We'll see, but it's certainly meant to be a more mainstream anthology than stuff that's on Kickstarter.
Right. Now, really quick though, because I know we're coming up on the top of the hour, and I know you're probably a very busy person. But so Apple Black.
Yeah.
So, how was White Manga someone you decided to go? Let's start a publishing company, or was he somebody you actively searched out and hoped that he would be a part of your vision?
So not none of those quite. What happened? What happened when I started my footprint?
Mm-hmm.
So I had the idea for Saturday was there, and I was working on a series called Mastering Multiplayer World of Ghosts, and I was doing that online as a webcomic, and I was Saturday, like I said, was part of the plan. That's where I was going. Long story short, I started looking at I just started looking at various things that were happening because at that time there was this thing called mangamagazine.com, and it was a place where a lot of these artists were uploading their comics. And it's kind of like we talked about with Amazon. It was literally it was like a needle in a haystack, right? You know, I mean, like you had all these amazing artists, and like it was hard to find them. And so I was doing interviews on my website as a means to get people to check us out. And one of the artists that I found was a guy named Raymond Brown, who's one of our co-founders. And Raymond was a wonderful guy. We became friends and almost immediately. And I started telling him my plan and what I was trying to do. And he said, man, you got to meet this kid, White Manga. And I'm like, White Manga? I'm like, okay, yeah. I'm like, that sounds interesting stuff. So he sent me the link. I saw his work. I was like, holy crap. Like, yeah, this kid's amazing. He's like, yeah, is he good? Yeah, like, he seems like a pretty cool guy. Yeah, I've only talked to him a few times. So, and so, we met online. We met all these guys. In fact, I didn't meet most of them until years later in person. But yeah, with White, the thing with White, when I saw his stuff, I was talking to Sanford Green about this actually. Sanford Green, award-winning comic creator from Marvel and DC, and so on. Got this comic called Bitterroot that won a lot of awards. And I was talking to Sanford Green about it. They said, the thing that I recognize, I view my role at Saturday kind of like a coach of a basketball team, right? And that means I can look at talent, and my goal is to try to look at talent and see where I think it can go, right? I'm not interested in just having talent for talent's sake. I'm interested in seeing talent that I think can actually grow and become something major. And with White, it was so evident at that period. And he was like maybe 18 or something.
See, there's those babies just coming out of nowhere.
I could see he had so many fundamentals down. Like there were so many fundamentals he had down. I'll never forget buying the first comic Todd McFarlane appeared in. It was an Infinity Inc. story. At least the first page. And it was horrible. It was horrible. His artwork was nowhere like I never would have guessed he would have been the next big artist. But I remember this like it was yesterday. There's a page in this comic. You guys remember Infinity Inc. at all?
I know JD probably knows about it. Maybe not me. He was a bigger collector than I was.
Okay, there's an old superhero comic from DC, and it was like the kids of the Justice Society of America. And there's a scene where Dr. Fate is getting ready to do battle, and he grabs. So you got like a layout, you got like a full page layout where the characters looking cool and stuff.
Right.
Because McFarlane, like a lot of his poses were weird. Even then, his poses were weird and stuff. And his characters kind of never leaning forward. Like it never looked. So it wasn't like John Buscema or John Byrne or it was Jim Lee. Certainly, it wasn't anything like that. His stuff was really kind of strange even then. But he had this one page, and I remember thinking like, this guy's gonna be God tier. Like, and there's one page where Dr. Fate is getting ready to kick some ass, and he's standing up. And as he's standing up, he's grabbing one of the panels. So he's got like a bunch of panel reaction shots, right? And he's got him actually grabbing a panel to pull himself up. And I thought, like, holy crap! Like that little thing.
That one thing.
That little moment of like saying, like, no, I'm gonna do different stuff.
Right.
I'm gonna play different. And I just thought, oh my God. And White was someone that I looked at, and I just saw in him that he had this element of just it was so refined to be so young. And I don't think he knew what he was capable of at the time. I mean, he was just drawing, but I just remember saying it, thinking like, oh my God, this kid, if he stays focused and if he dedicates himself to this, he could be a generational artist, not just a good artist. He could be a generational artist. So that was why, I offered him equity and said, hey, you can join us, because I saw then what I thought he could be. Now, there was no guarantee he would be that.
Well, right, yeah.
And he's gone through changes and so forth as he's gotten older. But I got to say, I'm super proud of White. White went and got he got his master's. he has continued to elevate himself, and he's produced more books. There are a lot of artists who, when we started Saturday, who are popular, people who are who are as good, who are talented or as popular as White, but they don't have 4 books on the market like White does.
Yeah.
And they don't have a brand that's popular like Apple Black. And that's where I give White tremendous credit. He has been, to watch him become what he's becoming. He's not there yet, by the way. But to watch him become what he's become has been a great, great joy of mine.
Right. Well, you see, this is the thing. Any artist worth their salt are never there.
The kid's on top of a mountain.
You know, he's never there yet. Yeah, exactly. It's like you always. It's like, look, even Bernie Wrightson. You know, it's like, it's like, you know what? If I could just do a little bit something better. You know, and this was after Frankenstein. You know? Yeah. So yeah, if you're an artist worth your salt, you're never be satisfied with where you are.
I totally agree. Totally agree. I totally agree. There's nothing to say on that. I agree.
Yeah.
As I said, you gotta want this. You gotta want this life.
Yeah,
and
you really do.
The fact that White could have checked out. I mean, there were other creators that we saw that were at White's level that, like, I mean, man, they were like, oh, I'm done with comics. We do animation.
Right. Yeah.
Animation, we do this now. And it's like there was never a desire to actually. And I saw that in them years ago. To actually be the best at this, and White has that fire to want to be the best at this. Yeah. So I'm like I said, I've been really impressed to watch him grow.
Yeah. So we're a little past the hour. Thank you so much. I mean, I know that we could go on. We could continue this conversation.
I'm good till 12:20. Again, I don't want to keep you.
Okay, no, not at all. If you know,
I've got to pick up a rental car because I got to go to South Carolina today. Yeah, I got to go to another bit.
So, all right. So, you know what? I'm going to take advantage. You made the offer, so I'm going to take advantage. So, you have summer. Okay. So, we have Summer of Manga going on. Yeah. We're pretty much, and if anybody's watching and you want to pitch a project to Frederick for Saturday AM, that you could actually do that. And it's, I guess, like an open call. Now, here's the thing. When you choose the content for your publications, how important is it that the work fit the manga aesthetic or the Asian comic aesthetic, or is it important at all?
It used to. I think we're moving in a direction where it's going to become more and more important. Mm. I would say that it didn't used to be important to me.
Right.
But now that we've started a larger thing with our success and with the books being in stores and being global and people recognizing the brand, I think there is an obligation to create, stuff that can be perceived as manga, earnestly, and still offer what we do to it. Right. Because I think the responsibility that we have is to take the entire category of manga, whether it's in Japan, Korea, China, Philippines, wherever, and to truly evolve it. And the way you evolve it, you get truly similar to it, but also does the things that we do with diversity and some ways we tell stories and so forth. So we just had this conversation recently internally. That's why you see me deliberating on this so much, because I just think it is an important thing. I think that, manga is still controversial, right? It's still controversial. The idea of manga being manga if it's not made by the Japanese.
Right. Yeah. Mind you, I've been hearing that argument since the 90s when we were doing Tenchi. We couldn't, it's like, you're not doing manga. That's not manga. That doesn't count, and this, that, and you have to be. And then it's like, the longer you talk to these people, the more the goalposts change. So,
100%.
I don't know, I don't really know what to, it's like, well, I don't know. Pioneer didn't have a problem.
But that's exactly. Well, here's the thing. We've been doing this for almost a decade now. Right. We've never gotten a complaint from Japanese. We've worked with Wacom, we've worked with Sakura, we've worked with Clip Studio Paint, we've worked with Pixar, we've worked with all these major Japanese companies, and we've never once heard this is a manga. We've got a deal with a company called MDI. The Japanese CEO of the company and his staff came to America, came to North Carolina, they had a meeting, and then they wanted to meet me. And we sat down, I showed them some of our graphic novels, and they were like, oh, this is really good. Like, there was no scenario of like, oh, this is a... So I've always rejected how stupid that is. Not to mention just, and again, like like I said, so first of all, that tells you something that it's never the Japanese. It's like, what the hell is a problem with?
Yeah, it's like
Japanese.
Yeah.
Number two is the fact that at the end of the day, when you look at the content, I think one of the things that always catches me with it is that it's just the sheer like logic or lack of logic in that conversation. For example, if you have a black belt and you're not Japanese, is it not a black? Is it an American black belt?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like, that's never happened. If I go to a sushi restaurant and the person there is making sushi, it's great sushi. Is that not sushi? Like,
right? Yeah.
Where's the line at on this stuff? And by the way, as I said at the very beginning of the conversation, as a black man who grew up in the 70s and 80s, who was there at the start of hip hop, do I go to Drake and say, you're not hip hop? You're not a rapper. Stop that. Stop calling yourself that. This man sells more records than most black rappers in America. What's he gonna do? Like man, he's gonna tell me to kiss off, right? So it's so silly. It's just a very silly argument. But I think there is a appreciation, I think, that should be there amongst all of us, which is what is it about manga that we so admire, and that it does come down to it's like a meal, right? It's like cooking a meal, and that meal has lots of ingredients. Or making a song. That song has lots of different instruments. Right. There is no question that manga has certain elements that have to be put together for it to be manga. The comic is still the comic, and American comics are still American comics, but manga has certain things that you have to do for it to be manga. And I think from that standpoint, you know, we are very much kind of recognizing our responsibility to start to make sure that everything we produce has that. And if it doesn't have that, then we need to likewise treat it as something that is manga inspired. Right. But at the end of the day, you know, we just have, I think that for us, for Summer of Manga, for other things, you know, we just want the best creative, period. And we'll determine from there where it fits.
So, one last question finally. So when does Grimheim get its own tankobon?
So Christina Andebach is awesome. She's featured in Saturday Brunch, and she really is like all of our European women. You know, have always struck me as being really cool because Europeans in general, they tell you exactly what they think. It's really funny. Like, it's not American. Like, they tell you exactly what they think, no matter how it sounds. And Christina is someone who's really sweet in that way because she tells you exactly what she's thinking, but she's conscious of that it may come across like a certain way. So she's always like, "Oh, I don't mean, is that right?" And I'm like, "Yes, that's right. That's fine."
I mean, I think she's from Germany, right?
She is. Yeah, she's Germany. Fred Torninger is from Denmark. Right. Cindy is from Hungary, who does Saigami. And all of them, like I said, are super talented and really wonderful people. And so right now on the physical books, we pretty much are maxed out on our release schedule for this year and for next year. So we're looking at some creators for digital, doing some of the things that Kodansha and Viz and other companies have done. They do a digital first release. Right. So we're looking at that, and Grimheim is one of the titles we're looking at for that. So don't have a timetable on that yet. Plus, she's not finished with the book yet.
Oh, no, that would help too.
But Grimheim is one that we think is wonderful. This beautiful atmospheric artwork. And Christina is a great creator. She's got some great ideas for Grimheim. So we're excited to get more people.
Right. Well, it's like, you know, look, all I can say is that the second that book comes out, my money's right here. So it's like, I
appreciate that. I'm sure Christina appreciates that.
Right.
That's very kind of you guys. Yeah, it's a great series, and it's got some good stuff coming.
Yeah.
To it, so
yeah. So thank you so much for spending this time with us. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor to have you here. Maybe, you know, sometime in the future we can do this again, you know, with the more books that you put out. So thank you so much. So tell everybody where they can find you, you know, if, you know, they're looking at, you know, so it's like they want to be a part of all this or just want to read the book. So where can they find you?
Sure. Well, let me just say real quickly, I definitely let's do it again.
Oh, thank you.
The best, one of the best YouTube shows I've done. And I love the intro at the beginning and so forth. Wow. And likewise, let's get some of our creators on here, whether it's some of our female creators. Like
absolutely. I'd be more than happy.
More than happy. You guys would have a real
the ladies.
Well, Christina and Fred, I think
Yes,
you guys
we can
really,
get more than welcome. They're all more than welcome.
Yeah.
That's
No, yeah. I mean, I'd love to get White here as well because you
Yeah.
guys have White. But the J.O., by the way, J.O., I got to mention him. J.O.
Right.
He's a whole other level.
Uh-huh.
But if you are at all intrigued by Saturday AM, and we hope you are, please check us out. Our website is www.saturday-am.com. So real simple. If you Google Saturday AM Manga, you'll find us. And then likewise, if you go to on social media, mainly Instagram and Twitter, which are the main places we are. We're also on YouTube, but Instagram and Twitter, if you simply type in, if you go to those places and go to Saturday_AM, you'll find our profile pages. So Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and we're on this new platform called Spoutable. So you can find us at all those places, and just if you use Google Saturday AM, you'll find us. But yeah, we certainly welcome you guys to come check us out. We appreciate it.
Right, there you go. So thank you so much again for coming on. Thank you so much for everybody in the chat for keeping it lively. And yes, thank you so much to the 17 people next to the giant eyeball on my screen. Thank you so much for spending this a little over an hour with us. But I mean, there was so much in it. And like I said, we could just keep going, but you have a car to pick up. So, so
we gotta go to a college thing.
So Nita, do you have any the final thoughts?
The final thoughts is tune in this afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern for Arting with the Alley Cat. Allison will be doing her live draw stream and talking more about her Patreon and her upcoming project, which I'll throw right before the outro.
Oh, there you go. So yes. So if you want to learn more about me and my artwork and my campaigns and everything else going on, you can head on over to my main portfolio site at egoworks.com, EGOWORKS, where you can find links to all of my galleries and social media sites, but I mostly post to Facebook if you are interested in seeing sketches and current work in progress and live updates. And remember that you can also catch me here on YouTube at my channel at Daphne Lage, Lage Art, which also simulcasts through the Indie Comics Network. And remember that you can read Eagle Raven, Air the First Unicorn for free on my website. It uploads every day, Monday through Friday. It's the full color version that you see on Kickstarter. Or you can, if you're a little impatient, download the free PDF so you can check it out and then head on over to the campaign. All links in the show notes below. We have 7 days left to support the campaign. Thank you everybody especially to the 122 people who supported the campaign so far. But if you prefer your fantasy to be more of a Lord of the Rings style adventure, you can head on over to Tall Tales, TAILS online.com. And not only can you read the first 20 issues of Tall Tales for free, but you can also read the daily upload of the brand new story arc, Tears of the Mother, Monday through Friday. So check that out there. So thank you again to Frederick. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to everyone next to the giant eyeball. Thank you so much for being here. And remember, in the words of the ancients, eat your food, moisturize, mind your business, and do the work. Because when you actually do the work, you never have to fake any of your accomplishments. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.